the title of your first book is We Can't Say We Didn't Know, Dispatches from the Age of Impunity. What do you mean by Age of Impunity?
I think it's, when I look back on the last few years that I covered the Middle East, particularly the last decade there, I think you can say that the rule book has been thrown out the window. I think there's been an unprecedented number of attacks on hospitals, you know, on humanitarian workers, aid convoys. I think there's a pattern, and no one has, you know, often many of these cases been held accountable. And I fear that that's what we have created by looking the other way at the war crimes that have occurred throughout the region. Some more well known than others. We don't hear as much about places like Yemen, but there's been so much horror that has gone on in, you know, Gaza, Syria, Yemen, Iraq the last few years. And so that's really what the book is about, trying to track what's happened, why and how, and then ask, you know, is this the kind of world we want to live in?
Can you tell us about one person who really struck you, who you included in the book?
I had to include the story of Khalid, who is an amazing nurse who was actually working in an MSF supported facility. I mean, he was the only qualified medical practitioner in a town of 30,000 people. He was witness to the horrific use of siege tactics in Syria, and his evidence that he collected and his bravery in getting this story out to the world about how food was being used as a weapon of war in Syria was just amazing to see how much difference this one individual made through his bravery and his courage. And the book is full of courageous, brave people, but Khalid is amazing for what he did and how much he sacrificed, you know, to stand up for what he thought was right and to help his fellow people. So that's a pretty special story in the book. But yeah, he's just one of many amazing people that I had the privilege of getting to know over the years.
You mentioned courage, and you talk about having courage over hope in the book. What do you mean by that?
Oh, look, I think that, you know, it's very easy to just talk about, you know, hope for change, or, you know, we all can dream of a better world, but I want to know, what are you going to do? You know, I want concrete results, I want action. Yeah. And so I, you know, my book is a call to arms to ask people, like, what are you going to do? Because we can't say we didn't know. We've run out of excuses. It's all there. We know exactly what's going on. What are we going to do to make this world a better place? So I do think that we can take a lot of lessons from people in the book. The Middle East is full of incredibly brave individuals who really stood up and made incredible sacrifices to help their communities, to help their countries, to help their fellow citizens, and I think we can learn a lot from them.
There are a lot of worthy organizations working in the Middle East. You chose to give a portion of the proceeds of this book to Doctors Without Borders, Médecins, Frontières, ourselves. We're incredibly grateful. Why choose us?
I think when you read the book, you'll see that MSF just pops up. I'm, you know, 3 hours north of Sana'a in Yemen, and I'm filming people displaced from the bombing up north, and there's an MSF tent, you know, weighing babies. Or I'm at the main hospital in Sana'a, and there's a little boy who, his cousin was killed by a cluster bomb, and this young boy, Murad, his name was, he still had some of the cluster bomb embedded in his skull, and the family couldn't afford to pay for the operation. MSF did. The doctors that I worked with in Aleppo, who were caught, you know, between just, you know, no one had the best interests of civilians at heart in that conflict, and they were under a barrage of Russian and Syrian government airstrikes, and they never left their patients, you know, and they received so much support from MSF over the years. You know, I spent a lot of time reporting in Gaza, and I've seen the work that MSF has done there. So I think MSF just keeps popping up wherever I was, doing amazing things, and I saw with my own eyes how many lives they saved. Just, you know, how many individuals' lives they changed for the better and saved. And so it, you know, was always a privilege to work with them on the ground. So it was privileged to hopefully help a little bit if the book sells. So